Today, we will talk about an important topic amongst umpires and officials, and one that I'm very passionate about. I want to name today's session as The Perfect Call, Mirage or Reality. We will discuss the work that goes into establishing this high level of excellence through the repetitions we get as umpires of official baseball games. I believe it's important for umpires to develop skills before the start of a regular season, as we need to be prepared before official games begin in order for our job to be done effectively. Let's begin. I want to name the first slide as umpires. Let's make a wish. The year 2020 that we have left behind has been so frustrating, to say the least. There has been a change to our personalities, our values have been tested, we've had to alter most of our regular habits, and as such, our perspective has transformed. Watching this video gives us a sense of perspective and allows us to see things from a more positive perspective. In this video, the tour guide asks his group to state what they see and what they hear outside the big buildings on a busy street. One woman, Lorraine, hears car horns and sees the traffic in front of her. Others see lights, stop signs, garbage. Now the guide takes them to the top of the building. Now, what do you see? The sky and many trees. Others see very tall skyscrapers, the river, the sun, a woman on her balcony in her hot tub. It's a little different from up here, isn't it? The guide says. But then again, it is the same place. We haven't really gone anywhere different. We are looking at things from a new point of view. All we had to do was climb the stairs to make a difference. So you must be willing to do the work and climb the stairs to get this new perspective. All that is needed is for us to climb the stairs. Our passions can be among the things that can help us find balance in life. I am sure you will agree that baseball, one of our passions, can definitely contribute to the regaining of our normality. By climbing the stairs, we have the ability to get that new perspective through the game of baseball. Allow me to make this claim. There is no better feeling than having given a stellar performance behind home plate as an umpire. Imagine that feeling of walking off the field after a game, making our way to the changing room, adrenaline flowing within us, and the conviction that we have done an excellent job as our duty requires at home plate. There is a feeling of deep satisfaction in our performance and bliss. Calling a game with the right mannerisms, following our standard of excellence and the specific rules of the game. This is not an easy endeavor. Rather, it is a demanding burden to accept. It takes concentration and attention to maintain the required movements, not only physical, but even more so from a mental standpoint. Managing stress is extremely important, and therefore the feeling of having achieved an optimal performance is highly rewarding. All of us who've had this clear goal in mind before the start of the game know what this means, and so why not prepare ourselves to be able to fully enjoy it? In order to accomplish the objective that we've just spoken about, we need to understand what is required. It is crucial to understand the 6 fundamental points of umpiring. The first being knowing the right time to assume the set position. The second, knowing the optimal set position. Making an adjustment whether the hitter is right or left-handed and being prepared for both. Timing, which is one of our greatest capabilities. Our voice, which is the reflection of our internal confidence. And finally, our body language, which provides us with visible authority. These are the 6 fundamental points that we must focus on and be clear about for our work. Let us dive deeper into the components of each point. Number 1, the right time to take the set position. There are several variables that go into deciding our timing as we await the pitch. The first variable is whether or not there are runners on base. If there are runners on base, we need to be prepared for a potential balk or a pickoff to one of the bases. Therefore, we must match our timing with the focus placed on the pitcher's movements. The second variable is the average time to the plate of the pitcher. It is important to understand his style, delivery time, pitch types, his pickoff tendencies, all of which are important to us being able to perform our job effectively, and ideally known before the game. The third variable is whether or not we are working with another umpire, and if not, our positioning and ability to see all parts of the field becomes even more important. We need to take all factors into consideration before we are 100% certain that the pitcher is going to make his pitch. With another umpire, our approach is very different, and this affects our timing when getting into the set position, as the responsibility is somewhat shared. Now we must go through all of the checkpoints to be aware of when we are still in an upright standing position. Everything begins with the batter, and according to the rules of the game, he must be completely inside his right or left-handed batter's box. Next, we must be aware of all of the phases of the pitching delivery, including each step the pitcher takes when he is on the mound. Next, we must be aware of the pitcher's feet and confirm that his foot is still on the rubber as he comes set and delivers the pitch. The fourth point is very important, as we must ensure the pitcher is not making any illegal movements as he looks in for the catcher's signs. The next point is to consider whether or not the pitcher is accurately throwing from the stretch. Next, we must be conscious of how the pitcher comes set. Then, we must be aware of whether a correct step is taken if the pitcher is attempting a pickoff. All of this leads to the big question of why correct timing is important. Above all, this is because our energy is not infinite and we must conserve it appropriately, as when we decide to get into the set position, more of our body strength is required. Also, this is because we can never miss anything that happens before the pitch is thrown. The third point here is that we must be firm, stable, and have a clear mind. Being firm and stable assists our ability to see the field and its players. And a clear mind is critical for our performance sake, completely free from other distractions, which allows us to be totally engaged with the task at hand. Now we will analyze, with the help of this image on the right of your screen, the mechanics of achieving the correct set position. The primary thing to take note of is that in the upright position, the slot foot goes into the position first, whereas the trail foot goes into position second. Looking at this image makes this concept easier to understand. The slot foot is aligned with the back foot of the hitter, while the trail foot is in between both feet of the catcher, which encompasses the correct mechanics of the upright position. The next step is to make a firm movement by bending the knees and keeping the back as straight as possible. It is crucial to transition from the upright position to the set position without interrupting the flow of the body's movement and making the appropriate changes to the back's positioning. It is imperative that you are maintaining eye contact with the pitcher during this entire movement and not allow yourself to be distracted, physically or mentally. The forward lean with the body must be minimal in order to keep balance of the upper body and reduce fatigue and instability. Therefore, good form is minimal and has no unnecessary movements, including a concise lean towards the catcher. It is imperative that you maintain the stability of the upper body, including limited head movements. Once in the set position, make only brief adjustments with the head based on the catcher's positioning and keeping your focus on the pitcher. Finally, we must lock in and be prepared for the upcoming pitch. We must be aware of the proper use of our eyes to develop our pitch tracking capability. Even our eyes require training in order to perform their duty effectively, and developing the ability to focus in on one object is critical to our success. Each pitch must be tracked from the release of the pitcher's hand through the strike zone and into the catcher's mitt, without losing sight of it at any time. We must be able to witness the entire trajectory of the pitch in order to be able to make the right call. Our consistency will improve with repeating this movement and maintaining a healthy, stable, and firm head position. The practice of repetition is imperative for developing this skill while adhering to a high standard of excellence. Here are the things to consider about the slot position, starting with the correct head position. Correct head position is achieved by the scope of movement of our feet and legs, the quality of the squatting movement with legs, and the body's inclination towards the catcher. Combined, these help establish correct head positioning for an umpire from a position of height. What is important to consider for feet positioning? Facing the catcher, a heel-to-toe movement becomes a reliable starting point. This is to say that all of our postural movements originate from the positioning of our feet. Follow the ball all the way into the catcher's glove with your eyes without moving the head at all. After the pitch, step back and relax, because we must develop the ability to zone back out in order to limit the stress placed on ourselves. With this slide, we can see the importance of maintaining a strong posture throughout the duration of the pitch's trajectory to put ourselves in a position to successfully make calls. A complete view of the strike zone includes total vision, being able to see the upper, lower, inner, and outer parts of the zone in order to be prepared for any outcome. We must also be aware of the batter's swing in its entirety, and we must be able to see this movement clearly without interfering in our capacity to see the trajectory of the pitch. Next, we must be able to see the hitter's feet as he starts and ends his swing. This is all to say that total vision allows us to read the pitch in its entirety, and then transition into seeing the batter swing without moving the head. We must develop the ability to be reactionary and prepared for all outcomes from pitch release to swing completion. Allow me to move on to the third key point as stated earlier, which is being able to get the most out of our vision and ability regardless of whether the hitter is right or left-handed. We must be aware that each of us has different areas of optimal visual performance, which is both physiological and completely out of our control. This includes having one dominant eye over the other, as well as various unique eye conditions, which are all different based on the person of discussion. For this reason, we may have disparities in reading specific pitch types. Therefore, it is essential to understand all of our personal strengths and weaknesses. As such, we must have a plan to improve on our weaknesses, which we have identified over the course of our preparation. During a game, we must put additional concentration on our least reliable points and put extra emphasis on being able to perform despite our limitations. We must adopt a routine where we are continuously reviewing our work. It is imperative that we are critical of ourselves, conduct a regular, constructive criticism in relation to our colleagues, and put practices into place to grow and improve our current abilities. All of this work as part of our reflection process. The fourth key point is our timing, which can be viewed as one of our strengths. Our motto must be read and react, and being able to call strike with an assertive voice at the appropriate time. Timing produces self-confidence for ourselves and is based on being able to assert control over the field of play. We must be consistent with our timing for all calls made on the field, whether it's a strike, ball, or strikeout, because this impacts our ability to perform at a high level. Good timing strengthens the confidence others place in us. This includes both teams, fans, and other umpires, and thus our ability to be consistent reflects on our focus, awareness, and overall strength as an umpire. We must be explosive in our reaction and overly assertive when needed because we are the keepers of the game. All of this is done to achieve, maintain, and exert our authority over the game being played. The next point is the use of our voice. Our voice can be interpreted as the external reflection of our internal confidence. The emphasis in tone of voice is used especially in times where there is a borderline, potentially uncertain decision to be made on the field, which, with our assertive call, makes it clear that there is no room for doubt. A strikeout call must be strong and fast, as opposed to long and weak, because it must be clearly understood by all people watching. Using a strong and assertive voice on borderline calls gives a sense of clarity to the situation, enforcing the fact that we have never lost control of the situation. Overemphasizing a call that has no uncertainty leads us to a loss in credibility on your part. If we do this, we are making an obvious point to everyone around us, and we must refrain from this at all costs. We are now on the sixth key point, which is the body language that creates a sense of authority. Let us reflect on the past. In 1908, Bill Clem, MLB umpire and creator of umpire's gestures, stated, "When an umpire calls a strike by raising his right hand over his head, all of those in the stadium, no matter how far away, have understood his decision." Bill Clem is an important figure in the history of officiating, as he invented the gestures to be used by umpires. Another way that umpires can establish their position of authority is to be silent and firm, with no possibility of misinterpretation of their call. Performing any gesture in an upright position increases our visibility to all people at the ballpark. It is permitted to customize your gestures, but it is not okay to be exaggerative and shocking with your movements, which may be counterproductive to our goals. It is critical that when performing a gesture or hand movement, we maintain complete sight of the diamond, because we can never lose track of everything going on as aligned with our responsibilities. As with the voice, being explosive with our calls instills a sense of conviction in everyone around us. We have now covered the 6 most fundamental points of umpiring in a detailed and thorough manner. It is imperative that we maintain consistency in all of our actions and statements on and off the field, and achieve this by repetition. As stated at the beginning of the presentation, we cannot discredit the power of a good training session in preparation for our work as umpires. Two final points of discussion. The first being calls made at home plate and being cautious to avoid getting caught in a trap, as it has happened to others in the past. Allow me to show this video of a catcher framing bad pitches, known as a hateful ballet. Despite the exaggerative nature of this video, it is important to be aware of the concept of pitch framing. Please bring your attention to the subtler aspect of pitch framing, as a good catcher who has developed this skill may have the ability to turn balls into strikes. To avoid being caught in this trap, we must maintain an optimal slot position, as previously discussed, and this allows us to be more prepared and a better line of sight of the pitch. At this point in the presentation, I want to share my reflections with you and speak about some of the interesting findings from research conducted in America. Houston University students analyzed more than 4 million pitches over the course of 11 MLB seasons from 2008 to 2018 and found that umpires made 34,294 mistakes, which equals to 14 missed calls per game and 1.6 per inning, a large number. The study also notes that the average age of MLB umpires is 46, with an average of 13 years of experience each. Each season, umpires call about 4,200 pitches behind the plate, and younger umpires with less experience tend to be far more wrong about their calls than the veteran umpires. Overall, the research shows that under certain circumstances, umpires favor the pitcher over the hitter, and according to one study, if a hitter has 2 strikes against him, the next call by the umpire will be a strike 66% of the time. These studies have helped lead the initiative for MLB to adopt robotic umpires, and people have begun to contemplate the use of technology to determine strikes and balls, which would limit the missed calls on the field. This topic has gained momentum in recent years because now that games are broadcast with an illuminated strike zone, umpires' mistakes are more visible to viewers than ever. Our successor will be similar to this robot that you can see on the screen, and we are inevitably on the way towards an era lacking personality, with complete standardization, total insensitivity, all being done to achieve this debatable concept of perfection. I leave you to draw your own conclusions, as all sport requires a concrete and firm decision to be made on the field without doubt. But sport is also a realm full of emotion that allows for us to express ourselves in our own individual way, and each of us, with our unique characteristics, has the ability to do this. This concept brings us back to the title of this presentation, The Perfect Call, Mirage or Reality. I thank all of you for your attention and hope this was helpful in your individual preparation, as we are always looking to develop the best version of ourselves as umpires.